Hey everybody, Johnny Cage here, welcoming you back to another game review. This time we're taking a look at Aladdin, developed and published by Capcom, released on November 21st, 1993 for the Super Nintendo. In Aladdin, you will play as the titular character from the 1992 Disney movie, navigating through 7 stages, each with at least 2 levels per stage, playing through the movie for the most part with a couple new areas added in for some depth to the game settings, with the goal of rescuing Princess Jasmine and defeating the evil sorcerer Jafar. The game begins with a rundown of the events thus far, which you can choose to skip if you wish, though it does play out some nicely animated scenes from the beginning of the film. There are also cutscenes in between each stage if you would like to better follow along with the story. Otherwise, hit start for the action to begin as you take control of Aladdin on the streets of Agrabah. From here, you'll have free reign to proceed through the stages as you so desire, jumping off enemies' heads to defeat them, as well as picking up apples which can stun your foes and knock over vases. Also, don't forget to grab the all-powerful cloth, which can be used to slow your descent and makes the game a bit easier, though it's not especially hard to begin with. Gems are the common collectible here, with green ones being worth 1 and red ones worth 3, and getting 100 of them will grant you a permanent heart to add to your health bar. Also scattered through some of the levels are treasure chests, which contain a golden scarab that will fly around the screen for a few seconds, and if you should manage to grab a hold of one of these, you will be treated to a bonus game at the end of the level where the genie will spin a wheel to win a prize. The first stage concludes with a scene from the movie where Jasmine almost gets her hand taken off by an angry merchant, and strangely this is the only boss fight in the game until the final battle, which is a bit of a shame as boss fights at the end of each stage could have added some variety to the small cast of baddies you will encounter. With that, we have beaten the first stage of the game, and we get a password for our troubles, as well as a look at how many red gems we picked up through the stage. And for those completionists out there, if you do happen to pick up all 70 gems throughout the game, you will be rewarded with an alternate ending credit screen. Next, we take a trip through the Cave of Wonders, which does up the platforming challenge just a bit. Lots more instant death pits and objects to both swing and jump off of, including a log ride that would fit right in at a Disney amusement park. Not before long, you will come across the lamp, and Abu just won't be able to keep his hands off that big, beautiful ruby. And after a not-so-interesting auto-scrolling level, we get to one of the game's most memorable portions, escaping a wave of lava while riding the magic carpet. This part isn't too tough. It certainly isn't anywhere near Battletoads Turbo Tunnel levels of difficulty, but this is a Disney game after all, so what do you expect? Stick to the first half of the screen and move up and down as needed. The lava's hitbox is somewhat forgiving at least, so even when it presses forward, you don't have to worry too much about it. After completing our daring escape, it's time to take a bit of a detour from the film by jumping into the genie's lamp and experiencing the crazy world inside. This is definitely one of the highlights of the game. The level design here is quite different from what we have seen so far, and having the "Never Had a Friend Like Me" melody in the background is a great touch. Sadly though, the fun of the previous world doesn't quite transfer into the game's second original stage. The pyramid is by far the most frustrating portion of the game, with shifting sands that will drop you into pits and eliminate the chance of you saving yourself from death by making it impossible to ledge grab. Not a horrible experience, but an area I'm happy to see come to an end. Time to get back to the movie story with the only bonus stage of the game, that being the carpet scene with Prince Aladdin and Jasmine, set to the song A Whole New World, which I can never resist the urge to sing along to. Just fly about the level, picking up whatever gems you can. A nice little change of pace following the frustration of the previous level. The last level is all about bringing the fire, and while you do have to hold up occasionally on platforms to avoid taking damage, it does at least beat the death pits. And you'll want to save some of that life as well, as it won't be long before you encounter the traitorous Jafar and begin the game's final sequence. Pretty standard fight for a Disney Capcom title, just jump on his head when he gets low, avoiding lightning and chickens with pots on their heads, which this game really seems to love for some reason. After this face-off, it's time for the final battle as you take on Jafar in his snake form. I have always loved this fight, and it's a great presentation that really has the impact of a final boss, though it's almost a formality, especially if you still have the cloth available, which will make it substantially easier for Aladdin to glide onto the snake's head to land a blow. After a couple of minutes of picking and choosing your own time to strike, the snake will finally bite the dust. Or does he? No, you have finished the game, with the cutscene showing off the end, including a nice Mode 7 shot of Jafar spiraling down into his lamp prison. Aladdin himself controls almost perfectly, which suits a game where exploration is encouraged especially well, the only minor negative being that he builds momentum quite quickly while running, so just be careful while holding down the run button near a ledge. Otherwise, the controls should be straightforward enough, with the A button tossing apples and the L and R buttons being used for the cloth when you have it. You can also change the controls in the options menu if you would like. Graphically, the game looks about right for a mid-life SNES title. As I said, I could have used a few more enemy sprites to change up combat a bit, but it's not likely to be something you notice when playing it casually. The standout visual has to be the outstanding backdrops. Younger me especially loved the surprise of springing up to this upper section with the palace prominently displayed in the background. While this review is meant to only go over the Super Nintendo version of the game, I would still be remiss to not at least touch on the very good Sega Genesis version of the title, especially when it comes to talking about graphics. The Sega version was quite different from the SNES port, with it being developed by Virgin Software, with its standout difference being its beautiful hand-drawn art style, and you even get to wield a sword in this one, definitely making it the cool kid's Aladdin. Sega certainly does what Nintendo don't. I still prefer the Super Nintendo version as a whole, but there's really no denying that the Genesis version has the SNES beat when it comes to the stunning visuals. And when it comes to the audio, the composers really outdid themselves, featuring a number of songs from the movie soundtrack, complementing various stages in all their 16-bit glory. Nowadays, you can pick up a loose card of Aladdin for about $15 American on eBay, with it also being ported to the Genesis and even a Game Boy Advance version for some Al on the go, although this one will set you back a pretty penny. Full disclosure, this is one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo, and one that I've beaten nearly countless times. For a while there, it was my go-to game when I had about 20 minutes to kill, and I will always remember it for being the first game I ever beat the same day I got it. In fact, the easy difficulty, along with its rather short length, might be the only two negatives I really have for this one. That Disney-Capcom alliance just kept on knocking out one great game after another, and if you haven't played this one, but have tried some of their others, then you already know the type of quality to expect. I'm going to go ahead and give Aladdin 8.5 Street Rats out of 10. It is a perfect example of a game that feels like you're playing the movie while offering fun, easy gameplay that lets the player enjoy the ride, an easy auto-include in any Super Nintendo library. Thank you everyone for watching, and if you would like to stay posted on new game reviews as I upload them, please click the subscribe button, as well as checking out the link in the description below for my Twitch channel where I stream most days. I'll talk to you all later on.